Hello everyone, welcome to Study IQ. In the previous video, we started with socio-religious reform movement and I told you there are two types, reformist and revivalist. Okay, so two types of movement, reformist and revivalist. Then I told you you can see both Hindus and Muslims in both reformist as well as in revivalist, right? And we have started off with Brahmo Samaj, okay? Brahmo Samaj in reformist movement, or we have basically discussed about Rajaram Mohan Roy, right? We have discussed about Rajaram Mohan Roy in the previous video. So now what I'll do in this video is I'll be discussing about the Muslim part of reformist movement. Obviously I'm going to discuss about Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. Okay, so I'm going to discuss about Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, and basically I'm going to discuss about Aligarh movement. So rather than confining my discussion to Aligarh movement, like in the previous video, I did not confine to Brahmo Samaj only. I have discussed many other things of Rajaram Mohan Roy, because Rajaram Mohan Roy in itself is a question, right? So I will discuss more about Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, and Aligarh movement as a part of it I will discuss. Okay, so let's start off with Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. So he was a moderate, okay. Now he was a pioneer in social reform among Muslims. All those things you know. Now his approach was totally different to Wahhabis, so that's why we call him as reformist. So he think in a modern way, scientific way, rational way, unlike Wahhabis who were more traditional. So Wahhabis were more traditional in approach and they tried to revive the old past, right? So we'll be discussing more about Wahhabis in the next video. So here I am discussing more about Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. Now he himself was a magistrate, okay, so he was a magistrate, lived in Aligarh. All these are basic things which you know. I'm just wasting my time for 5 minutes. He was born in 1817 in Delhi. His movement is known as Aligarh movement, which was related to education and also general social reform, especially among Muslims, okay, or in Muslims, among Muslims. Education and general social reforms among Muslims. Now if you see his thoughts, okay, so his thoughts basically, Quranic laws must be reinterpreted, okay, so whatever is written 1400 years back must be reinterpreted in the current context, okay, so in the present context it need to be reinterpreted. So Quranic laws must be reinterpreted. So certain laws like Parda system, right? Parda system and especially polygamy, even to an extent triple talaq also, that we will discuss later, but these two are given more focus. Parda system and polygamy have to be relooked in the present modern scenario, right? See, if you see polygamy was allowed among Muslims at that time. So if you see during medieval time, there were lots of wars, okay, lots of wars which were fought even for religion also and for many other reasons. And so who will participate in wars? Okay, the men will participate in the wars. So many people will die in wars. So many women will be left, okay, so they will be left without husband. So more number of women and less number of men. So in that situation, Islam allowed a men to marry more than one female but less than 4, okay, not more than 4, okay, so less than or equal to 4. So in mathematical language, so you are allowed to marry more than one but not more than 4. So what was the situation? Because lots of wars were fought. And another situation you can talk about is in medieval time there were a lot of situations of slaveries, okay, so slavery, so a lot of slave girls were there. So to give life to them, again Islam allowed a man to marry more than one but not more than 4, and there were conditions. You have to be in a position to take care of all the wives in an equal way, okay, and you will be in a position to satisfy them in equal way. So all those conditions were there, but polygamy was allowed in Islam in this context. You can talk about wars and slavery. Now in the modern scenario, not wars in that level and there is no slavery is abolished. So there is a need to look into this law, okay, and that's what he is saying. Quranic laws must be reinterpreted. Now again, if you look at this parda system, it is not practiced in its original form. It is not even a word in Quran, okay. So originally it was hijab. So people interpret it differently. So even Muslim society is divided on this aspect, and there is no consensus on it whether you have to cover the full body except your eyes, or you have to cover only the head, or you have to cover those heads, hands, etc. Okay, so this debate is going on even among various sections of Muslims. So Sayyid Ahmad Khan demanded Muslims should be given education, Muslim women should be given education. So education should be given to Muslim women. So he quoted from Quran that Prophet Muhammad's wives and daughter were educated, and in fact Prophet Muhammad's wife was entrepreneur at that time. Okay, so women must be given education, and also you have to give political and economic rights to women. Okay, so he is this is the reason why we call himself as a reformer. Now in 1867 he founded Mohammedan Scientific Literary Society. The objective was basically to translate the European scientific and literature works into Urdu. So European scientific and literature work to Urdu. Now what is the need of it? To acquaint the young Muslim minds with the latest developments which is happening in the West. Okay, so you translate everything, so the scientific and literature textbooks to Urdu, so that you can teach the young Muslim students and you can give them an awareness about the developments which is happening in the West. Now the problem with Indian literature or Indian education setup we have already discussed. The problem with Indian literature is it is full of fantasies, right? No importance is given for innovation or scientific development. So that's why European scientific and literature textbooks are converted or translated to Urdu. Second point that I need to discuss is he started publishing a journal, Tahsibul Akhlaq. Okay, Tahsibul Akhlaq in Urdu, and it is still published from Aligarh. Okay, the purpose was basically to train the young minds, both boys and girls. Very, very important, boys and girls. So this point has to be very carefully noted. Not only boys, okay, to train the young minds with etiquettes given to them by Islamic tradition. So basically the manners and the way you need to behave with the female, the way you need to behave with the older people, the way you need to behave with the ladies, the way you need to behave when you are taking food, the way you need to behave in public. Okay, so everything has to be taught through this magazine. So basically Tahsib means manners and Akhlaq means morality. Okay, so Tahsibul Akhlaq. So who was the author or who started this? Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. Now apart from all this, his greatest contribution is in the field of education. So the most important point that I need to discuss is this. In 1875 in Aligarh he founded Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College. Now you see here Anglo-Oriental. So that means he has given importance to both. I told you he is a reformer. Why we call himself as a reformer? Because he was ready to accept everything good from the West. At the same time he was proud of Indian culture. So that's why Oriental means it promoted Indian studies, at the same time English studies also. So East and West both were promoted. So he basically wanted an educational institution where both modern scientific knowledge of West and the values, okay, so values of East and scientific knowledge of West, okay, should be mixed. So that was the objective, and that name itself will tell you, right? Now he himself visited Oxford and Cambridge, and he wanted the same kind of system in India. So especially Muslims should get better education, and that's why this college was started. Now it was a very difficult task because traditional Muslims were completely against him, okay, and They started giving fatwas to him. Okay, so all these were big problem for him, and he faced a lot of hardships. Like this Maulavis and Maulanas, they started giving fatwas, but he worked like a missionary and he finally succeeded in giving education to Muslims. And it was made Aligarh Muslim University in the year 1920. And this institution have played a major role in the development of Muslims education. So if you see, most of the Muslim intelligentsia during that time and even now also, they are coming out of Aligarh Muslim University. Now the speciality of this was there were courses from primary till PhD. Okay, so both Urdu and English medium of teaching. Okay, both English and Urdu from primary to PhD. Hostel was there within the campus. He believed that the students should stay in the campus, so hostel facility was also there in the campus. Now when we discuss about the literary contribution, he changed the style of Urdu prose writing. Okay, so changed the style of Urdu prose writing. He introduced social and political essay writing, social and political essay writing on current issues like Raja Ram Mohan Roy. He criticized Urdu poetry like ghazal and supported nazam, which is based on serious issues and themes. Okay, ghazal is mostly related to praising females and their beauty, etc. So he supported nazam, which is related to contemporary issues. So finally, if you write his contribution, he developed the education system, especially among Muslims. Okay, so in Indian society or especially among Muslims, he started a modern social ideas and movement. Okay, so modern ideas and movements. After that, a large number of Muslims were influenced. So we have discussed about Raja Ram Mohan Roy, okay, Hindu reformist, Sir Syed Ahmad Khan as Muslim reformist. Now we have to discuss about revivalist. So revivalist I will cover in the third video together. Wahhabis and Arya Samaj together we will cover. Now I will cover some of the other small movements which were left out. Okay, so let me first discuss about Theosophical Society. So the Theosophical Society, it was set up in 1875 in New York, USA. Who established it? Madam H.P. Blavatsky and Colonel H.S. Olcott. So she was a German lady, Russia-German lady, okay, Russo-German lady, and Olcott is an American. It was established because they were inspired by ancient Asian religions like Hinduism, Buddhism, and Zoroastrianism. Zoroastrianism means Parsi, okay, from Iran. Now, in 1882, the headquarters was shifted to Adayar in Madras, okay. In 1882, the headquarters of Theosophical Society was shifted to Adayar. What is the objective? The idea is basically to propagate the message of spiritualism, of Indian religion like Hinduism and Buddhism. Okay, so the objective is basically to promote the spiritualism. In 1893, Annie Besant joined this movement. In 1897, she became the president. And otherwise also we have discussed about Annie Besant. She was the first woman president of Congress, and first Indian woman president of Congress, Sarojini Naidu. Okay, so those things we have discussed when we discussed about Congress. So this is about Theosophical Society. 1875 in USA, H.P. Blavatsky and Colonel H.S. Olcott. So inspired by Hinduism, Buddhism and Zoroastrianism, headquarters was shifted to Adayar in 1882. To propagate spiritualism was its objective, and in 1893 Annie Besant joined and she became president in 1897. Next is Satya Shodhak Samaj. Okay, Satya Shodhak Samaj, or basically I want to discuss about Mahatma Jyotirao Phule. Mahatma Jyotirao Phule, Govindrao Phule. Jyotirao Govindrao Phule. Mahatma Jyotirao Govindrao Phule. So Satya Shodhak Samaj was actually a Dalit movement. So basically Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras are the Varnas, and Dalits were Avarnas, and they were not part of the Varna hierarchy. So this movement is basically to uplift the Dalits. So it was formed in Mahatma Jyotirao Govindarao Phule started Satyashodak Samaj in 1873. He wrote a very famous book in Marathi, Gulamgiri. Its meaning is actually slavery. Okay, so you can get a question on this MCQ Gulamgiri. It was written by Jyotirao Phule. It was written in Marathi, originally in Marathi. Meaning is slavery. Now his contribution, if you ask me, he set up schools and colleges. Now he set up schools for Dalit boys and girls. Okay, so schools for Dalit boys and girls. When we discussed about Sir Syed Ahmad Khan for Muslim boys and girls, so here Dalit boys and girls. Now obviously he opposed caste hierarchy, he opposed untouchability, he fought for socio-political rights of Dalits. Okay, the later you can see Ambedkar movement and all, and the base is here. Jyotirao Phule, his movement is actually the base. So that's what I need to discuss about Jyotirao Phule, Satyashodak Samaj in 1873, and about this book also. And he started schools for Dalit boys and girls, and he opposed caste hierarchy and untouchability. Okay, now who else? Next important person we need to discuss is Henry Vivian Derozio. He started Young Bengal movement. It was basically a radical movement in Bengal. He was influenced by modern ideas and Western liberal thinking. So it was also based on modern ideas and liberal thinking. He was largely influenced by Mazzini, the founder of Young Italy Association, and on the basis of that only he started Young Bengal movement. He taught history at Hindu college, but later he was removed because of his radical ideas and thoughts. So we have discussed about Hindu college when we discussed about Rajaram Mohan Roy. He started various debating clubs in Calcutta, and various socio-political issues were discussed, okay, in these debating clubs. So he started various debating clubs. He influenced a lot of young students. Young students were influenced by him, and he basically triggered a cultural movement or intellectual movement in Bengal, which we call as Renaissance or Bengal Renaissance of Bengal. But of course it was controversial, but there was a new cultural wave, a new kind of thinking, modern thinking, liberal thinking, rational thinking. Sometimes it was radical. At least it was started in Bengal. But he died very early at the age of 22. At the age of 22, he died in 1831. So this literally ended the movement. The movement ended with his death. But unlike when we discussed about Brahmo Samaj, even after the death of Rajaram Mohan Roy, the movement was taken by Keshub Chandra Sen and Devendranath Tagore, and it was took across India. But this movement was ended with the death of Henry Vivian Derozio at the age of 22 in 1831. Okay, I hope this is clear for you. Now, what we are left out is two important movements. So that we will discuss under revivalist. The first one is Wahhabi movement. Tomorrow I'll be discussing about this, or basically in the next video I'll be discussing about this. And after that we will be discussing about Arya Samaj. And we'll see is there any similarity between both. Then with Arya Samaj, is there any similarity with Brahmo Samaj? We'll see that also. I have already told you when we discussed about Brahmo Samaj, but we'll again see that. Although Brahmo Samaj is an entirely different movement, which was a reformist movement. And finally, before we conclude, we will discuss about Swami Vivekananda. Without discussing Swami Vivekananda, this discussion cannot be complete, right? So we will discuss about Swami Vivekananda and we will complete the chapter. So what all things we have covered so far? We have discussed about Rajaram Mohan Roy. We have discussed about Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. We have discussed about Henry Vivian Derozio. We have discussed about Jyotirao Phule. We have discussed about Theosophical Society, Madam H.P. Blavatsky and Colonel H.S. Olcott. Now what we are left out is Arya Samaj, Wahhabi movement, Swami Vivekananda. Okay, so these are the important socio-religious reform movements of 19th century. I hope this is clear for all of you.